After attempting to look broadly at three different but vaguely related theories last week, we're going to focus on just one theory this week: the leader-member exchange, or the LMX theory. At first, this theory can seem to be based on who the leader likes and who the leader doesn't like, and what the follower needs to do to get on the boss's good side. And really, initial research into this theory just sort of stopped there. However, this theory does go beyond that. The focus of this theory is on what tends to characterize a high-quality relationship between a leader and an individual follower. In this way, the theory is descriptive. It describes the dyadic or two-person relationship. It becomes prescriptive as it is further understood and explored. Researchers discovered, amazingly, that employees tend to like their jobs and be more effective when they had good relationships and good communication with their supervisor. Sometimes research just needs to quantify what is probably obvious to the rest of us. So, leaders are then encouraged to form similar high-quality relationships with every individual follower. The LMX theory doesn't explain how that actually happens, though, just that it should happen. It expects the leader with 20 direct reports to have the same high-quality relationships as a leader with 5 direct reports, and this probably isn't going to look the same way, just based on the number of individual relationships that a leader would have to maintain. And the LMX theory doesn't really explain how that should or could happen. However, what this theory essentially does for our purposes is to both describe and prescribe leadership as a relationship. And that, to me, is the value of this particular theory. It quantifies with research what we intuitively know to be true. We want to have relationships with our leaders, and we expect to have high-quality interactions and communications. I think this theory is also a benefit to those who are just entering the workforce because it explains a little bit about how to make that happen, how to move from a stranger into an acquaintance or a mature relationship with the supervisor. If you haven't learned about it in classes, you're at least probably very aware of the differences between generations. The youngest generation being what is called Generation Z, which to me are pretty similar to Millennials or Generation Y. And then there's Generation X, and then there's the Baby Boomers. If you've heard or know anything about Generation Y or Z, you know that researchers have made the observation that this generation is much more relational and have higher expectations for work relationships than older generations. Older generations expect to have to work their way up after decades of hard work. Younger generations assume that they'll be president of the company in 2 years. Now, that's an oversimplification and probably a little unfair, but it at least highlights the differences between the way generations approach work. So, what's this stuff about generations have to do with the LMX theory? Well, the LMX theory provides a framework for moving forward in a company, or with your individual supervisor at least. It explains how to be part of the in-group, how to get in with the higher-ups, how to prove your worth to a company that cares more about the bottom line than it does about how many Twitter followers you have. The leadership-making component of the LMX theory describes what your interactions with your supervisor will likely look like when you first start out. They will be based solely on your job description, focused on completion of tasks, and you probably won't be let in on all the inner workings of the company. Eventually, though, as you gain more skill and competence, you can begin to take on more projects and ask for harder assignments. As you prove your abilities and gain the respect of your supervisors, you'll begin to be let in on more information and build more of a relationship with your supervisor. But it's all built on that give and take of that relationship, your willingness to take on extra responsibilities, and really to lead up well to your boss. Remember, we discussed that in week 1 in the 360-degree model and in the Grace leadership description as acting under authority. So this week, as you explore it and try to understand the LMX theory a little bit more, try to think about ways that it currently applies to you, or could apply to you in the future. Next week, we'll be back looking at multiple theories, so enjoy the lighter week. I assume that since this is the halfway point of the session, you wouldn't mind a lighter week. Also, don't forget to be working on the personal leadership assignment, the one where you choose between spending time alone with God or reading a book for the purpose of personal or spiritual growth. If you have any questions about that or any other assignment, please feel free to let me know.